his 12-year-old daughter Poppy showed him disrespect. He said, I gave them chilies for punishment. It's not very popular beating kids anymore. He said, these are his words. It's not very fashionable and you're not allowed to do it. And if you're a celebrity chef like me, it doesn't look very good in the paper. So you need a few options. Poppy was disrespectful and rude to me. She pushed her luck on that day. 5 minutes later, she thought that I'd forgotten about it. She asked for an apple. I cut up several pieces and rubbed it with Scotch bonnet. It worked a treat. She ran up to Mum and said, this is peppery. And I was in the corner laughing. Jules, his wife, said, don't ever do that again. So that's the sort of background as to why we're having this chat. He's a father in his own house. That was the way he thought that was the best way to get his point across. What's wrong with that?
Well, obviously, if people want to do things, but, I mean, he's hurt his daughter. Apart from anything else, it sounds like peppery, horrid. And surely the best way to discipline a child is to do it then and there, tell them what they've done wrong, explain it rationally and tell them not to do it again, and be very straightforward about it. For me, it's not a joke. If your child behaves badly, you tell them that and you sort it out then and there, and that's just the best way to deal with it.
I think it's totally been blown out of all proportion. Quite obviously, he has a very, very good, jokey, fun relationship with his kids. It's not like, you know, he sat her down, tied her to a chair and force-fed her apple laced with pepper, is it? It was, you know, after the event, he's sort of like, you know, she's asked for some fruit. He's sort of like, quite obviously, I would imagine, let's have a little bit of a joke here. You know, he hasn't harmed her, he hasn't done her any long-term damage. I can't believe some of the things I've been reading online, comments online, you know, things other mums at school have been saying, that it could have some long-term profound effect on her attitudes towards food and everything else. Come on, get a grip. He's obviously a very, very loving dad who's had a bit of cheek and a bit of lip from his daughter and has just had a bit of a laugh at her expense afterwards, you know, no harm done. And I believe this actually happened a few years ago. It's not like it happened yesterday, you know, it happened a few years ago. He's, you know...
Doesn't matter when it happened.
But what I'm saying is, it's obviously had no long-term effects, has it? We haven't sort of like been reading in the paper ever since of sort of like, you know, further episodes of this. I just think, you know, blown out of proportion totally. And I think sometimes, you know, it's good to have those kind of relationships with your kids where you are doing something a bit fun when they've done something a little bit naughty, you know, get them back sort of like, you know, in a fun kind of jokey way rather than screaming and shouting. And, you know, obviously you've got to sort of like discipline appropriately, but, you know, for a little bit of cheek, a little bit of answering back, that's what children do, isn't it?
It's so difficult, isn't it, to know exactly what happened. None of us were there. All we know is what he said, which is...
Yes, but presumably she didn't burn the house down or attack one of her siblings because he didn't do anything immediately. He said, like, a little bit later.
And if he wants respect, then he needs to act in a way that garners respect. You know, either she behaved badly and he wants to punish her, or talk to her about it, in which case do that, or she didn't behave that badly, in which case leave it and make a joke. Don't necessarily use
But as
food.
you say, you weren't there. You don't know the circumstances
so no one knows.
of what was
All we
going
know
on in
is
that
what
house.
he has said.
Yeah.
And we do tend to sort of like overinflate and overuse the word disrespectful these days, don't we?
But that was his quote.
Well, let's move on.
I know it was, but, you know, she quite obviously, the point I'm making is, she quite obviously didn't do anything that serious because he waited until a little while later when she asked for some fruit and then, you know, thought,
well, let's move it away from Jamie, because I think, you know, that it's been a fascinating debate. Whatever they want to do within their own house, you know, that's reasonable, fair enough. I'm amazed that he actually said it out loud.
I know,
he must have known what was going to happen.
Joking though, this is it, because it's funny, he probably felt very confident.
Oh, you can't
in saying,
joke these days. No, you can't.
Can
You're not allowed to joke these days.
Joking.
The professionally outraged are straight on. How should you discipline your children then?
Well, I think it's up to you. All I can say is I know what I do, which is if they behave badly, I tell them that I'm not pleased and why I don't like it and not to do it again. If it's something quite serious, I mean, for example, one of my little monkeys stole something, so I marched him straight back in the rain, back to the person's house with it, to go and apologise